Hello again everyone, welcome back to ptet.chemistry channel. So in this continuation of this lecture tutorial series on the 5129 combined science curriculum, this is on the ionic bonding and its associated giant ionic structure. So previously we talked about the formation of magnesium oxide, which is basically from the metal atom. It loses the two electrons because it has got two valence electrons to form the fully filled outer shell for the magnesium 2 plus ion, and now it's got fully filled second shell. And where does this electron, the crosses, go to? They go to the non-metal, which group 6 has 6 valence electron. The 6 different dots in the second shell, it gains 2 extra electron. 6 plus 2 give you 8 electrons in the outer shell. 8 electron in the second shell makes it completely filled, and when you gain 2 extra electron, you have a 2 minus charge. This is called anion. So non-metal atom form negatively charged ion called anion. Positively charged cations are formed from metal atom that has lost 2 electrons. As a result of the transfer of electrons from the metal atom to the non-metal atom, you get the formation of cations and anions, and the electrostatic, meaning force of attraction between charged particle here, is between cations, positively charged ion, and the anion, negatively charged ion. This attraction between the positively charged ion and the negatively charged ion is what you call ionic bond. That was what we covered in the previous, in fact I've written it down already. It's called ionic bond, which is the electrostatic force of attraction between positively charged cation and negatively charged anion. They have giant ionic structure, giant ionic lattice, meaning giant ionic structure. It has this alternating positive and negative ions. So it could be negative, positive, negative, positive. If this is positive, it's negative, 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 negative. Left, right, up, down, front and back. Giant structure means it's continuous. What we have shown here and here, these are what we call dot and cross. These are the dot, these are the cross. They need to have different dot and cross shown for the electrons gain for the non-metal, because the electrons come from the metal atom to the non-metal atom based on what we had done in the previous lecture tutorial series. Okay, we also focus on this idea that it's a giant lattice structure, and these dot and cross are simply simplified model. Okay. Now onto the formation of magnesium chloride. That is slightly different to the formation of magnesium oxide. At the end of last lecture tutorial, I talked about the need to balance out the charges. This one has lost 2 valence electrons and form a plus 2 charge. This one happens to gain the 2 electrons and form a 2 minus charge. If you have one of these, you have a plus 2 overall charge, and then it will cancel out with exactly one of the 2 minus. Plus 2, you add it with minus 2. Plus times minus is a minus. So plus 2 minus 2 give you 0 charge overall. Compound has no charge. Ionic compound is a compound, and compound has no charge. Ionic compound has no charge at all, meaning the ions here must be one of these and one of these. So you have one magnesium and one oxygen, one of these and one of these, one magnesium, one oxygen. The number at the bottom represent how many of these do you have. I don't show a number, so it's not 0. If it is 0, I don't show it, but I show it without a number. That means there's one magnesium and one oxygen, one magnesium and one oxygen. What you don't see by looking at this is you didn't realize that it's between a metal and a non-metal. So the bonding between them is electrostatic force of attraction between cations and anion. So it's actually between Mg2 plus and O2 minus is what you call ionic bond between cations formed from metal atom, anions formed from non-metal atoms gaining electrons. Now, we got to think about this next thing. It's called magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride contains 2 elements. So it's magnesium, which is 282, group 2 metal. You want to get to a fully filled outer shell, so it's become 28. because what had happened is you have lost or lose 2 electrons. You lose the 2 valence electrons, you get a fully filled outer shell. So if I draw Mg2 plus, hang on, Mg2 plus will look exactly the same as the one above. So 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and I don't have the electrons in the third shell anymore because I have lost the electrons in the third shell. I have lost 2 electrons from my third shell. Now I have a 2 plus charge. When you lose electrons, when metal atom loses electrons, you get positively charged ion called cation. This is called magnesium ion. It's a cation. Onto the non-metal. So what is happening with the non-metal? Just now you have oxygen in group 6. Now you have chlorine. Chlorine is the first 20 elements. It's element number 17. And you should know the first 20 element. Okay, so it's 2, 8, 7. Because it's the third period. First shell, second shell, third shell. It is in group 7. So it's got 7 outer shell electrons. When you want to get to a completely filled outer shell, how many will it gain? It already has 7, so to go to 8 electrons in the outer shell, it just need to gain 1. So it doesn't gain 2, it gain 1, because 7 plus 1 give you 8 in the third shell, and that's completely filled. When you gain 1 electron, you will have a charge, you have a -1 charge. So if I draw chloride, it will be first shell. Let me use dot because we want to use different electrons for the different atom, even though they are all electrons, but we want to show the differences. So 8 in the second shell, and now I'm drawing the third shell, which is the third circle. I have 8 electrons, 7 of which are originally the circle one, the dot. And then where does the 1 extra electron come from? It comes from the cross. I do not need a different color ink. I just need the cross in order to show that it is different. Okay, I purposely use a different color so you could see it. Okay, so what happened there is this is a minus charge. So I think I'm running out of space a little bit. If I move this over to this side, hope you can see that that one is 2 plus still, and this is a -1 charge. So I decided to circle it, but it has no special meaning. You can do minus, you can do -1, but I just write -1, let's say, for the sake of it, because you have gained 1 electron, you have lost 2 outer shell electrons. You lost 2 outer shell electron, but one of these only gain 1. So where is the other cross? Where does it go? You cannot add another one because then it will be 9, and you cannot have 2, 8, 8, 1 because the idea is fully filled outer shell. So this has 2 electrons to give. This only can gain 1 electrons. So what must happen? Plus 2 plus -1. If you have plus 2 plus -1, that is plus 2 minus 1. That is plus 1. This is not 0. So what you can do here is you need another one of these. So you can draw another one of it. I am just going to cut corner and actually just pass it. And hopefully you can see that you have 2 of them where this one has lost 2 electrons. So these 2 electrons there, the cross, one of it goes to one of these, meaning -1. Another cross goes to another one. So altogether, how many magnesium do you need? You need 1 magnesium. And how many Cl do you need? You have 2 Cl. That's why the formula of magnesium chloride is Mg1. Mg, I don't show the 1, but it means there's 1 Mg. Otherwise, it will be 0. I don't show it at all. There's a 2 because if I show 2, it's not 1. It's 2 of them because I need 2 of them to give me -1, another -1. So altogether now, what I have is instead of -1, I have -2 because -1, -1 give me -2. So I'll get -2. I'll get 0. Okay, so now I get 0. And that's the purpose of forming the compound, so that they have no charge. We need to balance out the charges. How many of them do we need? Okay, I hope that makes sense there. Rounding up this topic, which is on properties of ionic compounds. So 14.3.6 is on properties of ionic compounds. Even though this lecture tutorial, I am showing here there are 3 properties. So this one is not in your syllabus. This is not in the 5129 syllabus for the combined science. Typically, this is also not in any other integrated science or combined science or double science syllabus for many other chemistry curriculum as well, because you always have to go back to your syllabus. And in this part of the syllabus, if I go back and see here, 14.3.6, Cambridge specifically say describe and explain in terms of structure. So the structure is not bonding is not structure, so you have to specify what is the structure and what is the bonding. The properties of ionic compounds, they are just two: high melting and boiling point. Ionic compound has high melting and boiling point. Ionic compound conduct electricity, they are very good electrical conductor when aqueous or molten. Aqueous or molten, molten meaning liquid, not in water. Okay, water plus your substance would mean it's a mixture. Liquid mean is pure substance. There is no other substance, it's not a mixture. Whereas when you have aqueous, what does aqueous mean? Aqueous mean in water. So what you have is, you have a solution, you have a mixture. We learn mixture and we learn pure substance in the previous idea on atoms, elements, compounds, and mixture. But then we also think about it has poor conductivity when solid. So we got to explain, because it's not just describe, these are just description. We have to explain it in terms of structure and bonding. That's what this next part of the lecture tutorial is all about. So I'll try and summarize it for you. First one, high melting and boiling point. So this is stating, okay, this is explain. All right, so high melting and boiling point. So what do we say? They say explain in terms of structure. So you have got to always specify the structure. So if you see a metal and a non-metal atom combining together, so you know it has a giant ionic structure. State the structure, giant ionic. It is not giant ionic bond, it's giant ionic structure. Structure can be giant, or later on you will find out simple, but you know, in this context, you got to have giant ionic structure. What bond to break? What to break? To melt or boil. Okay, so what do you need to melt? What do you need to break in order to melt it or to boil it? Melting and boiling, you think about heating curve from back in topic 1, which is states of matter. You need energy to go from solid to liquid, to go from liquid to gas. You need energy. A large amount of energy is required because you are breaking strong electrostatic force of attraction in the solid and molten liquid. This thing is, we need to break strong ionic bond. We need lots of energy. We need high amount of energy. We need a lot of energy. So we need a lot of energy to break strong ionic bond. This is very important, the adjective strong ionic bond. So bonding is not structure. Structure is not bonding. Otherwise, in the last part where I talk about the syllabus, they will not say structure and bonding. They will say structure or bonding. But Cambridge did not say that. They say in terms of structure and bonding. State the structure, and then you need a large amount of energy or a lot of energy to break strong ionic bond. Bond does not have giant. Structure has giant. Giant ionic structure break strong ionic bond when you melt or when you boil, therefore high melting point and boiling point. Okay, on to point number 2, we talk about good conductor of electricity when molten. Molten meaning in liquid state. Liquid does not mean water unless you are H2O. When you have liquid substance, NaCl liquid is not water. It means the NaCl solid turns to liquid. This is molten. So this means molten because it is not water unless you have H2O. Ice, meaning solid ice. When you melt, it will become H2O liquid, then you have water. Liquid NaCl does not have water. It's just NaCl liquid. NaCl aqueous means in water. Aqueous means in water. So what you have is NaCl dissolved in water. Okay, so what you have is a mixture of water as well as NaCl. In the molten state, the mobile meaning free to move. So we say the ions which are not mobile in the solid state. In the solid state, the ions are in fixed position. If you think about solid, liquid, and gas, which is your lower secondary science, as well as your states of matter topic, which I've done the lecture tutorials and covered quite a lot of the work and discussed through them a few months ago. If you check back the lecture tutorial for earlier topics on states of matter, you will know that in the solid state, we talk about the particle. So, oops, I don't want to draw that. I want to draw a square, so hopefully it will be better. Yep, okay, so we said that the solid particles are in fixed position, where they vibrate about fixed positions, so the ions are not free to move. They are in fixed position, not free to move. Not free to move. If you cannot move, you cannot conduct electricity. When you want to conduct electricity, your ions must move. That's why in the molten state, remember molten means liquid. When you are in the liquid state, the ions are free to slide past each other because there's a bit of space in between. So you can slide past each other when you are liquid, and therefore they can move, and therefore they can conduct electricity. When you are in aqueous solution, you have water, you have a lot of water, but the Na plus and the Cl minus ions are free to move around in the water. Therefore, if your ions are free to move, they can conduct electricity. Not just the molten state, and also aqueous state, the ions are free to move to conduct electricity. Okay? And like I said, the hard and brittleness, you can forget about it. It's not really required by the Cambridge syllabus. Just to recap, two properties: describe and explain. Describe high melting and boiling point. If you have giant ionic structure, there's basically ionic bond, strong ionic bonds they need to break due to this structure. They can conduct electricity when molten and also when aqueous. Aqueous means dissolved in water. Molten means simply in the liquid state. In the solid state, the ions are simply in a fixed position where they only vibrate about fixed position, whereas in the liquid state, they are free to, in the liquid state, maybe basically when molten, they are free to slide past each other, so the ions are free to move, therefore they can conduct electricity. Same thing when you're in aqueous state, meaning you dissolve the substance in water, the ions are free or mobile, they can conduct electricity. When the ions are free and mobile, that means they can move freely. That means they can conduct electricity. Alright, so that's it really for ionic bonding and ionic compounds. When I see you in the next lecture tutorial, we'll start covering on covalent bonding and covalent compounds. Okay, thank you for watching. Make sure you click the button on the bottom right to subscribe to the channel, and please share the channel widely with all your friends, your chat study groups, your relative, your juniors and seniors from school, your teachers, and whoever else you think can benefit from these combined science chemistry curriculum for the 14 to 16 years old students doing either the Cambridge International O Level or the IGCSE combined science syllabus, or anyone else you think will find the contents useful. Alright, don't forget that this is a bit diluted. The contents are not as heavy as the pure science curriculum, so make sure you know which curriculum that you're looking at. This is the combined science chemistry curriculum, so it's a bit diluted compared to the pure science syllabus. Alright, thank you for watching. Follow me at ptet.chemistry on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I'll see you in the next lecture tutorial.